The Minister now.
Sir, I am extremely grateful to a large number of honourable members who have spoken on this bill. A series of suggestions have been made. Some questions have been raised, some doubts have been expressed, some members have supported some of the provisions. Let me at the very outset reiterate one aspect of the bill that Mr. Jairam Ramesh, in his elaborate opening statement, pointed out. This relates to exceptions to the privacy rule, and I think is the core of the public debate which is on, and that must be addressed. What is it that when the bill was originally perceived in 2010 that you had in mind? And I may once again say I am not on a UPA bill or an NDA bill argument. This is an evolution of a law which has taken place. UPA bill, if I read section 30, it provided for confidentiality and then said, provided that an Aadhaar number may request the authority to provide access to his identity information in such manner as may be prescribed by regulations. So the 2010 bill was, I can volunteer to say, if any authority asks for my details, please give it. Now we thought, and there are two aspects. By consent, you could part with information, share the information, and this can be defined by regulations. Now we considered this on basis of recommendations of various experts that core biometric information should not be shared even with consent. So we improved upon this aspect of the law. Then came the second question, section 33. Nothing contained in section 30 subsection 3 shall apply to disclosure of any information by an order of a competent court. So any magisterial court anywhere in the country could then pass an order, please give details of so-and-so's identity. We said no, it will have to be a higher judicial authority, not any court in the country. So we improved upon that. The next change that we made was that 33B said, any disclosure of information, including identity of information, made in the interest of national security, pursuant to a directions of an authority above the level of a joint secretary. Now, one of Mr. Jairam Ramesh's amendment is that this exception to the rule of national security should be taken out. It was a well thought out, I'm aware of that. So please listen to my response, Jairam. Now, national security in any provision of the Constitution, including exception to free speech, including reasonable restrictions on fundamental rights, is always considered paramount. The rights of an individual are always subject to some form of a reasonable restriction, and I therefore said, assuming that privacy is a right of personal liberty, it can be restricted by procedure established by law, which must be fair, just and reasonable. Now, is the only criteria of national security a reasonable ground or not? Article 19(2) says national security, security of the state. Your Official Secrets Act, section 3, security of state. Preventive detention power, security of state. So security of state over the years has come to be a well-defined concept. Now, if you go outside the security of state and try to overstretch the meeting, I have no doubt if you overstretch the meaning, some judicial authority will intervene and say, we stop this. This is not security of state. So, national security is a phrase that we have borrowed from the 2010 law. Now, what is public emergency? What is public safety? National security in different laws has come to be evolved and be defined. It is something to do with the integrity of India, the sovereignty of India. There is no concept of a public emergency. You have under Article 352 of the Constitution the concept of a declaration of an emergency. Public emergency is a vague phrase. If an agitation by a certain group takes place in Haryana and there is a law and order problem, is it public emergency? Is it public safety? In fact, I'm glad you say it is public safety. You are permitting, by your amendment, a much larger encroachment of privacy than the law permits. National security is limited. Public safety and public emergency are not constitutional phrases. They are undefined, unstated. So any district where there is an agitation going on, somebody will say, in the interest of public safety, I am going to encroach upon. So whereas you started with a noble intention of wanting to restrict the encroachment of liberty, the phraseology as an alternative you have brought in does considerable damage to...
This is a phraseology that exists in an existing legislation with which we have decades of experience. And that is why I have said public emergency and in the interest of public safety. Everybody understood that. We have decades of experience. It is not as arbitrary as national security.
You see, that's an 1885 Act. An 1885, you ruled India more than us. So you had an opportunity to decide it. An 1885 Act
Well, even for you also, what is the difference?
Okay, all right.
So, all right. Public order will in fact make it even worse. So, Dr. Reddy, allow us. Public order. So, if a chaotic situation or an extreme breakdown of law and order takes place, that will then be interpreted as a ground for encroaching on privacy. Public safety is a vaguer phrase. Now, these are all phrases which exist in an 1885, a single law, which is the Telegraph Act, pre-constitutional law. Post-constitution, the concept of public emergency doesn't exist. There is only a concept of declaration of emergency, which is Article 352 of the Constitution itself. Therefore, my respectful submission to what Jairam says is that national security over the years is a narrower phrase. It involves the interest of the security of the state, integrity of India, and it is much better in the larger interest of privacy that we allow it to remain on that ground. The next improvement on this law, in fact, if we add it by vague phrase, we'll be weakening the law. The next substance is that is a joint secretary level authority enough, which was in the 2010 law. We said no. The joint secretary's decision should be reviewed by a committee headed by the cabinet secretary. Therefore, the senior-most civil servant in the country must sit down. He has all the reports coming on him. And then he must decide whether information is to be made public or to be shared with some authority or not. So it's a further improvement. So as procedure established by law, the encroachment of personal liberty, that is privacy, has been narrowed down, and we have taken care of a large number of privacy concerns as far as this amendment is concerned. One more
member in that committee.
No, I'm coming to this.
That's all I'm suggesting.
Now, as far as, obviously, let me make it clear, you've been in government, we are in government, tomorrow somebody else may be in government. the question of national security considerations being shared with some outsiders may itself have dangerous consequences. So you may have the defense secretary, you may have the home secretary, but a vigilance commissioner is an authority which has something to do with corruption. A CAG is an authority which has something to do with auditing. Now the appropriate persons who deal with this are people who are concerned with national security. So anti-corruption authorities are not the appropriate authorities to be put there. This is one authority, you can't put even an NGO in it. It would be dangerous to put somebody who's not accountable within the government mechanism who will assess whether there is a consideration of national security. So I would urge my good friend Jairam Ramesh, as far as these amendments are concerned, you may please reconsider whether you want to seriously press these amendments. Now this whole concept of is it mandatory? It is not mandatory. The 2010 law said any person is entitled. It's an entitlement. But it is mandatory if you want a benefit. But then members have rightly expressed a view. Today there are about 100 crore Aadhaar numbers. 97% of adults in India are covered. This is a work the UPA government started. This has been continuing. Today, 5 to 7 lakh people are added every day. In the Aadhaar, it's going on quite well. 97% of adults are covered. Those who are not covered would be in left-wing extremism areas, some parts of Northeast, etc. And therefore, Section 7 itself says the states are going to be sensitive. My good friends from the ADMK says, what are the powers? These are all state schemes which are going to be covered by it. The state government schemes, so even if food is given, and you say, let us say tomorrow a pilot scheme for food is distributed. Central government doesn't distribute food.
Mandatory cannot be. It cannot be done mandatorily. So even Supreme Court has not ordered for making it mandatory. So in protest against this, we are staging walkouts.
Sir,
this card has no value. If it is mandatory, Aadhaar is your only iCard. Aadhaar is your only iCard.
Sir, this debate to get an Aadhaar number, you need, it's an entitlement. The 2010 law said entitlement. The 2016 law says entitlement. Then it says that where people don't have it, then alternative documents will be prescribed. Yes. So there are alternative documents, the concerns which have been shown. And the user will be predominantly through the state governments. That's the point my friends raised, and it's a right point. Tomorrow you are going to distribute, let us say to poor people, some scheme. And therefore that is a power for you. Those details will have to be given to the state government to ensure that this is the Aadhaar list that has to be given to the state government, the concern which you have said, so that the state government, tomorrow if Tamil Nadu government decides that people below a certain income will get this economic facility, then obviously that economic facility, that list of people from Aadhaar identification, the state government will have to make, and therefore the information is yours. Now this question of mandatory, which is, if you have to get a benefit, is it mandatory? Now, since we are following, this idea came, whenever this idea came and it was implemented initially, I just want to read from how, from 1935 downwards, the public discourse in the US took place. Just 3 lines. In Doyle versus Wilson, this was challenged, can it be mandatory? It was challenged in the US. The federal court had that the mandatory disclosure of one's social security number does not threaten the sanctity of individual privacy so as to require constitutional protection. Then they further go in another case in US, they say, you'll have to choose. If you want the benefit of a money, then you'll need the number. It can be made mandatory. How jurisprudence in India develops will be yet to be seen. And therefore, when my friend Jairam said he made 2 criticisms, One, of course, I have responded to that the details I mentioned, I got it from the Lok Sabha website. I didn't manufacture it. How much money have we saved? A recent answer, the petroleum minister says, already in 1 year, 14,672 by using it as a DBT.
Those numbers have been challenged. That's the point I'm making.
I have a reply given in Parliament. No.
Challenged.
Now you wanted to know, Justice Shah's committee suggested some safeguards for the protection, etc. Now, I'll just read out the 6 or 7 safeguards which we have taken into consideration. Drawing from the international privacy principles and a robust protection, the following have been included. I'll just read it out for your benefit. There is an absolute prohibition on sharing core biometric information with anyone for any reason whatsoever. The rule does not contemplate an exception. The only permitted uses of core biometric information are generation of Aadhaar numbers and authentication. Other identity information can be shared only for the purposes in the bill. Identity information collected by a requesting party can only be used for the purposes specified while seeking consent. Identity information collected by a requesting party can be disclosed only with prior consent. Aadhaar number or core biometric cannot be published or displayed publicly. Information on Aadhaar database, demographic information and authentication record can only be accessed and corrected by concerned individual through an appropriate procedure. Then the obligations, etc., and the stringent penalties which are provided. Now you wanted to know, why do you make future changes by regulation? Now the reason why it is made by regulation, collecting biometric information, the scientific evolution that will take place, today we can't envisage it. I'll, for instance, give you an illustration. Today you take fingerprints. The fingerprints of a 2-year-old child will evolve and change. 20 years later, on his Aadhaar biometric detail, those fingerprints will not be valid. Now, the latest discovery, some of the experts who came said fingerprints will evolve and change, but there is one new information as a part of biometric information which doesn't change with age, which is the printout of the heel. पाँव की एड़ी का जो प्रिंटआउट है, वो 2 साल के बच्चे का भी होगा तो 50 साल में भी उसका वही रहेगा. So tomorrow another evolution comes. Now, in every legislation, I have yet to come across a legislation, you do the primary structure of the law, and then there is a delegated legislation. The delegated legislation comes up for parliamentary accountability because we table it in the floor of the House, and at that stage members challenge it. Some of my members from the left parties have been quite active in challenging some of them. Now, every kind of scientific evolution which takes place, every time you have to come for an amendment. Now, this is a cumbersome process. This is not how lawmaking really takes place. Now, this is only for the purposes of, and a very strict mechanism created. So to say that this information will be used just as the Nazis used information for targeting people, I think it may be a political statement, but it's not really a correct position. Some of my friends wanted to, on this citizenship, Mr. Naresh Agrawal, the Act applies to every resident of India. So even in the United States, social security number is available to every resident. An Indian passport holder can get a social security number. But the Act itself says it does not confer any proof or right of citizenship. So you don't become a citizen just because you have an Aadhaar card. The Act itself makes a declaration. I've already clarified that most of these schemes are only implemented with the state government. Obviously, the state governments will be taken into confidence. Mr. Satish Chandra Mishra raised a legal argument that when a court directs sharing of information, is there a pre-decisional hearing to be given to the authority, or is it to be given to the person concerned? And he wants a pre-decisional hearing. I am not giving a final opinion on this. He may only keep in mind that if a pre-decisional, if the ground is national security, he is a very competent.
Because you are not here, so I'll just take a minute. Now, what I had said was that in 33(1), it is not national security. 33(2) is national security. 33(1) does not say for what reasons a district judge can order. It does not say that it can be for a national security. And it says that there is already a pre-decisional opportunity given, but to whom? It is mentioned there in 33(1), provided that no order by the court under this subsection shall be made without giving an opportunity of hearing to the authority. So therefore, it does say to the authority in the Act itself, but it does not give the opportunity to the person concerned who is going to be affected, and national security is in the second clause. That was mine.
Why I said consciously, because Mr. Mishra knows administrative law very well. This provision in the present shape is appropriate, and I'll give you the reason why. This was considered, debated at length as to what we say. The first principle is that when a law is silent on a pre-decisional hearing, is the hearing excluded? The answer always has been no. If it is silent, then you have to read hearing into it. There are several.
That is a constitutional bench judgment.
There are constitutional bench judgments.
Tax matter.
So if it is silent, it has to be read into it. Then we have to leave something for those who interpret the law. The second principle is, but should this pre-decisional hearing be given in the case of national security? Probably not. Supposing a court is to say that this is a case of extreme threat to the country, therefore, please to such and such authority give the biometric information. Now, are we going to tell the person who is the target of the investigation, therefore, in a case of ordinary crime, if a court passes an order, probably you are right, there will be a pre-decisional hearing. But if it is national security, the court may well choose not to give it, and therefore these are guidelines you can allow law to develop as far as this branch itself is concerned in these areas. Sir, you still require, as far as children are concerned, particularly minors, a large-scale inclusion. That is what Mr. Raja has raised, because adults are already 97%. The number of non-adults is still less, it's about 67%. It's increasing by the day, and therefore there is a provision for alternative documentation, which may also include your guardian's documentation itself. And lastly, sir, Mr. Rajiv Chandrasekhar has mentioned about the need for an overarching privacy law. Now, I think we should wait, because the court large bench is seized with it. If they declare it to be a part of Article 21, fair enough. But in any case, I am moving on the assumption that, assuming it's a fundamental right, we must give utmost regard to the right of privacy and have very strict provision with regard to its encroachment. We don't want any normal provisions to come, and by every day somebody asks for Aadhaar information. We don't want that kind of information to come. With these few observations, sir,
One aspect which still requires to be answered is Section 37 is 10,000 rupees or 3 years. Others have and. This says or. And this is with respect to the person who is disclosing the identity of the information. Section 37, penalty for disclosing identity information. This uses word or. Only by paying 10,000 it can get out. And while Section 38 and 39 say and. It says and. So therefore, this or is a very dangerous aspect. A person, there's no penalty. 10,000 is no penalty.
Sir, these are alternatives. And these are alternatives given for judicial discretion. A court can even give 3 years. Now, it will depend whether, supposing somebody has made this mistake deliberately and consciously, court may give you a higher punishment. So, Satishji, this is not the only penal law. This is not the only penal law where you say penalty or punishment up to so and so. This is a standard definition of penalty and imposition of penalty as far as laws are concerned. Therefore, depending upon the gravity of offence, this discretion is left to the court. So the range is from fine up to 3 years. The court will decide.
Yes, you want to ask?
This issue of using
with
identity.
respect, on this explanation, sir, we don't, my party doesn't agree and therefore we are walking out.
Yes. You want to ask? Yes.
Yes.
You are happy not fixing it.
Okay. You ask. Yes.
Permitting me or him?
No, I asked you to ask.
Sir, I have heard with patience the Honorable Finance Minister and his explanation, and I am not. I repeat, I am not satisfied on 2 grounds. One is on the question of national security. Now, national security is a very nebulous definition. Now, what could be defined as national security is left to the government of the day. We've all suffered under what was called the Maintenance of Internal Security Act. You were also in jail, Mr. Finance Minister. And that interpretation of that national security has to be defined in a much more stricter way. Yes, my friend Jairam had talked about Hitler.